Okay, today we're going to look at solving some problems using the fractions 1/2, 1/4 and 1/8. Remember that 1/2 is when something is divided into two equal parts. Each one of those parts is a half. If the whole is divided into 4 equal parts, then we're talking about quarters. And if the whole is divided into 8 equal parts, then we're talking about eighths. Okay, for this lesson it might be useful if you had a piece of paper and a pencil and you could do some quick drawings and follow what I'm doing on the screen. Have a look at this hamburger. If I was going to divide this hamburger into halves, where would I draw my line on this burger? You can pause it if you like. Do a quick drawing on a piece of paper and see where you would cut the burger to be in 2 equal parts or in halves. Pause it here. Okay, so where did you cut your line? Well, would that be equal parts? No, don't think so. So we really need to make it so that the burger is in 2 equal parts. So it looks something like that. If you drew a line that cuts that burger down the middle like that, and that the 2 sides of the burger are equal, you've cut that burger into 2 halves. How about this pizza? Can you cut that into 2 equal parts? Draw a quick circle on your page and try and get it into 2 equal parts or halves. How did you go? Well, on a circle, to divide it into halves, I could do it lots of different ways. I can cut it like that. Or I could cut it across that way, or pretty much any way, as long as that line cuts through the middle of the circle, dividing it into 2 equal halves. Alright, now how about this chocolate bar? You have to be careful with this one. Have a look, draw it quickly on a piece of paper, and draw a line that would break this chocolate bar into 2 equal parts, into halves. Alright, let's have a look. Now, if I was to break it down this way, that doesn't look even to me. I've got 1, 2, 3 on one side and 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of chocolate on the other. So that's definitely not halves. So the way I need to draw it is to cut my chocolate straight down this way, and now I've got 2 rows on each side of my line, which makes them equal. 2 equal parts equals halves. Okay, so have a look at this apple now. We're looking at quarters this time. Can we divide this apple into quarters, or 4 equal parts? Draw it on your page and then come back and check with me. Alright, so quarters. I would start by cutting it into half. That gives me 2 equal parts. And then if I cut it across the other way, I add 4 equal parts. And each one of those is 1/4 of the apple. How did you go with that? Let's look at this chocolate bar. I need to cut it into 4 equal parts. Pause it, draw it, cut it, and come back and check. Alright, so 4 equal parts. I can cut it this way. That would give me 2 equal parts. And then I could cut it this way and this way. So I've got 4 pieces of chocolate then, each with 3 squares. 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about this group of minties? If I wanted to divide it into a quarter of each group, then I could do it a couple of different ways. Stop the video here, draw it on a piece of paper, and then come back and check which way that we could divide this group into quarters. Alright, so one of the ways we could do it is 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts, that's quarters, or we could do it this way, 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Both ways are correct. Alright, have a look at this. We've got a whole bunch of $2 coins here, and we want to break it into 8 equal parts. How do you think we should start solving this problem? What I'd like you to do is draw something similar to this on your sheet of paper. So pause it here, draw the $2 coins. They just have to be circles. Make sure you've got the same amount, and then have a think about how you're going to solve this problem, and we'll come back together and we'll solve it together. Okay, so you should have had a look at how you were going to solve this problem, and I think the first step that I would take is to work out how many $2 coins I actually have. So let's have a look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now you could just start circling and putting them into groups, but I know that 16 and 8 go nicely together. And I know that if I have 8 and another 8, that makes 16. So let's have a look. Let's start by doing this. 2, 2, grouping them in 2s. And I've used them all up, none left over. How many groups did I actually create? Well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 groups. So a quarter would be 4 groups, a half would be 2 groups, but I've made 8 groups, so that's eighths. And of all the coins that I had on my whiteboard here, if I wanted to give 1/8 of them to a friend, I would give them 2 coins, or one of these groups here. Now if that's a bit tricky, you can always go back and watch that again, and if you didn't quite get it right on your paper, you could try it again there too. Okay, and again our chocolate bar, we want to break it into 8 equal parts. Quickly draw that on your paper, pause it here, solve that problem, and come back and check with me. Okay, so down the middle here, that would be halves. Across this way makes 4 equal groups, so that is quarters. Well, now I need to break it again into more smaller parts. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal bits of chocolate. So that's eighths. If I was going to give my friend 1/8 of this chocolate bar, I would give them this much chocolate here. 2 pieces. Okay, we've got a pizza here. It's a circle shape, so we need to divide our pizza into 8 equal parts, or eighths. Pause it here, have a go at that, just draw a quick circle and divide it into 8 equal parts, just like a pizza. Alright, how did you go? Let's have a look. Halves. And if I cut those halves in half, I get a quarter. And if I cut the quarters in half, 1, 2 more cuts, I now get eighths, and I can check. I've got eighths. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I was going to give my friend 1/8 of a pizza, I would give them this much pizza. 1 slice. 1 of the 8 slices is 1/8. Okay, time for a bit of a test here. Let's have a look at these 3 fractions that we've been talking so much about. Half, quarter, and eighth. Now, on the right hand side here, I've got the whole chocolate bar. That's what the whole chocolate bar looks like. And then on the left hand side, I've got half of that chocolate bar, a quarter of that chocolate bar, and an eighth of that chocolate bar. Now, just to check, you can see that if I put this chocolate bar next to this one, that I would need 2 of those to make the whole chocolate bar. 1, 2. 2 equal parts. That's halves. Same with our quarter, I would need 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 1 here, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. So that's 4 equal parts. And the same with our eighths. I would need 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8 makes the whole chocolate bar. So that's 8 equal bits. That's 1/8. Which one of those is the biggest? So if you were going to ask for some chocolate, would you ask for half the chocolate bar, a quarter of the chocolate bar, or 1/8 of the chocolate bar if you wanted the most? Well, that's right. You would ask for the half, because a half is bigger than a quarter. Which one's bigger, a quarter or an eighth? Well, here's our eighth, and there's our quarter. Definitely, the quarter is bigger than an eighth. Let's have a look at our apple here. Over here I've got the whole apple. That's the whole apple. Over here I've got half an apple, a quarter of an apple, and an eighth of an apple. Let's check. If I had this half of an apple, I can see that I need half for that side, and then I need half for the other side. So that's 2 equal parts. That's halves. For the quarter, I would need to have 1 quarter, and then I'd need another quarter, 2, 3, 4. So 4 parts would make up that apple. And the same with our eighths. I would need 8 of those pieces to make the whole apple. So which one is bigger? Halves again. Which is the smallest piece? 1/8. And that's tricky sometimes to remember, because even though it has an 8 in there, which is a bigger number than a 2, we're talking about 1 of 8 parts. So if there's 8 parts, it means each of those parts needs to be smaller. If there's 4 parts, they're a bit bigger than eighths, but still smaller than halves, which are only 2 equal parts. So the answer to which one is bigger, half. Cool.